Recording in progress. Hey,
Okay. Good morning.
let's have a chat.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. So yesterday, it's 5 weeks out, or next Monday is 4 weeks out. So
Wow.
those who are on the fence still have time to get off the fence.
Get off the
That'll be
damn
okay.
fence. Yeah, come on. You don't know what you're
Yeah,
missing.
yeah, it'll be good. And yeah, the emails that are coming in, asking questions, looking forward to it. That's always nice. It's good.
I'm just really excited about you know, the third iteration, but also it just keeps morphing. And now we've got a cool chef, and now we've got a paddle trip, and
Yeah.
yeah, I can't wait.
So we wanted to chat about this notion of, what did you refer to it as, resilience?
Resilience is the broad theme.
Mm,
Yeah. And this idea that resilient people just do better because they face their challenges. They focus on what they can control, and they're committed to their goals, or sort of some broad indices of resilience. And it's funny, I found myself thinking about how resilience matches up with curiosity, which is one of my favorite go-to ideas. I really think that curiosity is kind of the secret sauce that keeps us vital and keeps us engaged, literally that keeps us alive.
mm.
When you shut that down, you lose interest in yourself and others in the world.
You're
Uh,
describing things you don't want to retire from.
it's not a good place to be. But right as we were chatting here, before we turned on the video, I remembered that last year I talked a bit about Jiro Dreams of Sushi,
Mm.
the really great documentary about the sushi master in Japan. And I just looked him up. He's still alive. He's still
He's
with
still
us,
going.
and he's still going. And I
Little
thought
nondescript restaurant in a
a
Tokyo
10,
train station.
like a 10-seat bar stool in a Tokyo substation.
Yep.
And people come from all over the world and pay extraordinary amounts of money to eat with him. And it takes like 6 months of waiting to get in there. And his whole thing is, I don't know where the top is. I want to
Right.
keep getting better little by little. And I find, hey, HVAC man, and um, I find joy in mastering my craft. I find
Mm.
joy, there he goes again, in the simplicity of it, and the purity of it. But what's driving him is just every day to come up with something a little bit different, a little bit better than yesterday. And I really like that idea that nobody knows where the top is. And so, in the context of what we're trying to do, we're trying to, broadly speaking, why do we do this? Why do we do what we're trying to do in this conference? As we're trying to help people be their best selves and show up as their best self, right? And I'm just intrigued by this idea that, which is so not American in some ways. We're like, okay, drive to 65, and then whatever, it's kind of, you're done. And
Right.
and and that is, to me, is so unfulfilling, and counter to the way I want to be. I want to be surrounded by vital, curious, interesting people who are trying to grow little bit by little bit, like Hero, and get better every day, and find something to celebrate, and something to be grateful for, and to live in a joyful place. Um, and so they could be like my grandma, who um, left us on the open heart surgery table, and was brought back from the dead, literally. Woke up, and the first thing she said was, gee, I never went to Moscow. Maybe I need to, and like 6 weeks later, she planned a trip to Russia, right?
At 83.
After being revived. Um, so I'm finding myself more and more thinking about those kind of people.
Mm.
Um, and I'm hoping that part of what we're doing is building and giving people little tools, little ideas to think about how they can show up as their best self, how they can show up as a resilient person who, makes their way through this world with style, right?
Well, you talk about curiosity and resilience. Being curious is can be unsettling,
Mm,
you know, letting your mind wander and, once the bills are paid and the trust funds are set up and, the mortgages are paid down and then you go, that's all there is?
mm.
Gotta be something more. But then, yeah, there be dragons if you start sailing into those curious
Yeah.
waters.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so
Yes.
part of being, well, maybe that's a good corollary to resilience because if you're going to be curious, you better be prepared for what comes next or what becomes important. Um,
Interesting.
and yeah, I don't know how you could be curious without being resilient.
Are you suggesting that there's some risk taking involved in being curious? Because I would agree with that.
Well, if you
There
just
is.
stay focused and stay in your lane, uh, it can be pretty predictable and you don't get off, you don't get out of that lane, you stay there.
Yeah.
But you might find that if you've been successful doing that, you can start to wander.
Hmm.
You decide that, well, I would say in a way that, the journey is more important or as important as the destination.
Yeah.
And then once you start to accomplish some specific things that you set out to do, um, there's going to come a time, and I've talked to other people in my own, in our own AEC circles, people who are in their late 40s, into their 50s, and going, okay, I feel like my career has plateaued. It's going great. I love what I do. I love who I work with, but it doesn't. Well, I would say in a way it's still a challenge, but then new challenges arrive. There's new stresses. There's new questions. And so to be curious about that or to give yourself time to turn the TV off and put down the phone and to be uncomfortable with your thoughts
Yeah.
is not to be to be I think to being curious is to be safe.
So
So
we have said in various conversations, you and I, and also in the context of the unconference, that
mm,
these ideas are simple but not easy. And so, yes, I think it's true that if you um, there be dragons, I love that. If you sail off the map, if you sail off the map, by definition, you don't know what's coming, right? You don't know what's going to happen.
no.
That's the whole. That's what there be dragons meant. It's like, oh well, this is as far as we've mapped. This is the end of the known universe. So, but how I just think how wonderful. I think
Well,
I'm.
speaking of known universe, I just want to jump in. Uh, I read a quick blurb, and I'll send you the full article. Based on our anticipated or our expected age of the universe, and that things spread apart, or we've expected things to be spreading apart from the Big Bang. There's a bit of unsettlement due to the photos that are coming out because things aren't spread out as far as they should be based on our expectation, and the
Mm,
color shift indicates young things where there should be old things, and so now there's like there be dragons. We have sailed beyond our known universe, and now it's
so
creating
I listened.
dragons.
I listened. This the James Webb Telescope is taking us in amazing places, and I listened this morning to the sound of a black hole. Now, I'm a little bit confused about how a black hole can emit sound since it's sucking in all light. Like, how can sound escape from it? But anyway, it was cool. Listen to that, and again, it piqued my curiosity, and the fact that there are some bits that aren't where they're supposed to be, at least in our limited
Right.
understanding,
I can only
doesn't.
imagine like Japanese shoegaze music would be the
Yeah,
sound of,
yeah. Japanese
of
shoegaze music. There's a specific reference. No, I mean the thing is, none of this stuff troubles me at all. It piques my imagination and my curiosity, and it
mm,
also, going back to the whole idea of resiliency. You worry about things you can control, and like I
mm,
don't care how educated, how smart you are, you're never going to understand the complexity of the universe. And that's okay. So why choose to be beaten down by that, afraid, burdened, confused, feeling small? Why not be full of curiosity and wonder and say how amazing that we live in this space, that we can explore and we can keep learning, we can keep growing. And you know, for people of faith, I always say, why would you invest faith in something that so small that you can put it in a box and understand it? Wouldn't you rather live in a
Right.
universe full of
Right.
possibility? So
Well, I
yeah.
think there's an arrogance of
Oh,
leadership. I mean, first of all, presuming that you should be, hey, I'm in control here. I'm
absolutely.
responsible. And I don't know that it's a, I don't say arrogance in a pejorative, fully pejorative sense, but
Oh, it
this
can
idea
be
that we
fully
are in charge.
pejorative.
You know what? We want to be relevant and we want to have a sense of purpose and we want to be recognized for our leadership contribution.
Yeah.
And then if something threatens that, including including questions that we have as leaders that get to a certain plateau, um, if we're not being recognized, and what if we're letting go of our old relevance to do something else? If we're again talking back to this notion of being technical gurus and letting go of this safe area in order to pursue something else. uh yeah, it's a threat to our sense of ego. Oh, just
Yes.
let go of your ego, that's all.
Well, right. And we're not going to dive into that in 3,000 years of philosophy. But um, what's so interesting is, yes, there's a risk in
Mm,
leaving your your lane, especially when you require a sense of mastery, and you know that sense that what got me here ain't going to get me the next step into the future. That's a tough thing to learn.
right.
But what has always been true, and what's increasingly understood, is that the really great leaders, even though they feel like they kind of got there by being, stronger, smarter, faster, more competent, whatever, that's true up to a point. That's technical mastery. But great leadership is about empowering other people and making them feel seen and heard, and making them feel safe in an environment where they can share and fumble and make mistakes, but ultimately come up with
Right.
something that no one thought of before. And great leaders aren't afraid to hire people that are smarter, better, faster, younger than they are. And so that is a really, really important pivot point. And I hope that that's something that people that come to this conference and leave this conference have a little bit better understanding of that moment, when you kind of let go of the reins and empower your people, is how you get really great teams working, and how you get really unexpected results, and how you get great answers, and how the weird new bits in the universe start to make a little more sense to you, right? It's it ain't,
So
it ain't
if you haven't seen Hero Dreams of Sushi, you should
yeah,
watch it.
totally. And I like I
That's a
said,
good
the guy's
maybe
96
that's
years old
homework
and
before the
still doing
retreat.
his thing. He's
How old is
still
he
at
now?
96.
I wonder if he's let his son take over and come up with ideas for sushi yet.
his son is probably cutting cucumbers still. Son, you haven't
He's
got
still
that.
practicing on
You haven't got it
cucumbers.
exactly right yet. It needs to
Wow.
be a 64th of an inch or a millimeter or whatever. Yeah.
Yep.
So,
Yep. You have to be able to see through them.
yeah, we'll see.
Cucumber. Very thin
Yep.
slice. Thanks, Randy.
Yeah,
Chat in a
man.
few weeks, buddy.
Cheers.
Take care.
Okay. Bye.
It's such a good movie.